Hello guys, good afternoon. We are starting the next chapter in Unit 4, that is the lymphatic system and immune system. We'll focus only on the lymphatic and we'll just touch the base regarding the immune system because we focus a lot on immune system in physiology, okay? So today we will go over an overview of the immune system. Immune system is made up of the lymphatic system is composed of several structures, and those structures in the hierarchy are lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic collecting vessels, lymph nodes, lymphatic trunk, and lymphatic duct. So we're going to talk about these all structure, and then we will touch the base with the immune system. Okay, so let's start with the lymphatic and immune system here. In the lymphatic and immune system, the main structure of the lymphatic system is lymphatic vessels and the immune system. So these two systems are together, lymphatic system and immune system. Lymphatic system's main component is lymphatic vessels, whereas immune system main components are lymphocytes, lymphoid tissue, lymphoid organs. Okay. So the overview of the lymphatic system, how lymphatic system works in our body. Let me tell you, the heart, last time we did the heart pumps blood all over the body. And then heart pumps blood into your artery becomes capillaries, and then capillaries exchange gases and nutrition, and capillaries lose some fluid, water, some protein molecules, some waste product. But the amount what capillaries lose will not receive the same amount. So that means they lose in slightly more amount, and those amount of fluid and some other component remain in the tissue. And that fluid in the tissue is called lymph. And that lymph is carried by several levels of lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, lymphatic trunk, lymphatic duct, and those systems are called lymphatic system. Okay, so let's see in the diagram now. If you see here in the diagram, this is the plain structure of the heart and lymphatic system, and you know these together. The cardiovascular system, heart and blood vessel, and the lymphatic system. What is this all system together called? Answer the question. This system is called circulatory system. Okay, so if you see here, a heart is pumping blood, and then through the arterial system, then arterial system becomes the blood capillaries. Blood capillaries are so thin that they are supported by areolar connective tissue. And in these capillaries, oxygen is coming out, carbon dioxide is getting in, some water is coming out, other nutrients are coming out. So compared to whatever coming inside in the vein is going more outside, and those tissue fluid becomes lymph in the tissue, and those lymphs are collected by several layers of structure in the lymphatic system, and those are lymphatic capillaries, the smallest structure. You see, like heart is double blinded, but if you see the flow in the lymphatic vessels, this is like blind ended. There is no continuity. So from here, it goes towards the lymphatic duct. So fluid lymphatic capillaries, the smallest hierarchy of the structure, carry, and then due to the muscular action and contraction, the contraction of a skeletal muscle, body movement, breathing, and all other body movement, and the contraction of the lymphatic vessel wall, the fluid moves up. And you see there is valve in the lymphatic collecting vessels. So after lymph capillaries, the next structure is lymphatic collecting vessels. And in the lymphatic collecting vessels, you have lymphatic valves. Okay, those valves takes fluid lymph up, but does not allow come down. And then after the lymphatic capillaries, it goes to your nearby lymph nodes. You see lymph nodes are on the path of lymphatic collecting vessels. There are several lymph nodes. They are like a bean shape, okay, tissue. And these lymph nodes contains a lot of white blood cells, macrophages, and other phagocytic cells, okay? So by chance, if any lymphatic from the lymph you are collecting, if the lymphatic vessels are collecting any dead cells or cancer cells or foreign microorganism, they are coming here and lymphocyte kill them here. And lymphocyte makes immunity here. Then from the lymph node, it passes to the lymphatic trunk, and there are several trunks in the body. Then lymphatic trunk join the largest lymphatic vessels called lymphatic duct, and this lymphatic duct joins into the veins nearby external and internal jugular veins. Okay, that's how the tissue fluid returns back to the cardiovascular system. Okay, this is called together circulatory system. Okay, so lymphatic system contains the lymphatic vessels, collect tissue fluid from loose connective tissue here, carry fluid to great veins in the neck here, and that is at the junction of external and internal jugular vein. Fluid flows only towards the heart, you see, always towards the heart. The cardiovascular system can carry blood towards the heart and away from the heart, but lymphatic vessel carry only towards the heart. Function of the lymphatic vessel is to collect tissue fluid and blood proteins, return tissue fluid and blood proteins to the bloodstream, as you remember. So what are the order of lymphatic vessels? Lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic collecting vessels, as I told earlier, lymph nodes, lymphatic trunks, and lymph duct. Lymphatic duct or lymph duct emptied into the vein of the neck, and these are the largest structure in the lymphatic system, okay? So lymphatic duct drain into jugular veins. Okay, there is a special name to the lymphatic capillaries that is called lacteals. So where are they found? They are only found in the small intestine wall, okay? Lacteals means, what is the lact? Lact means milk. So lymphatic capillaries in the small intestine absorb fat. And when fat mixes with lymph, it looks milky. And then lymphatic vessels looks like the fatty lymph, which looks whitish. And that's why we call them lacteals. So lacteals are lymphatic vessels with lymph and fat, okay? So lacteals are specialized lymphatic capillaries found in villi of the small intestine. They receive digested fat, and that fatty lymph is called chyle. So chyle in the lymphatic vessel is called lacteals, okay? So let's talk about the lymphatic vessels. This is the location and structure of lymphatic capillaries, the smallest lymphatic vessels. So in the connective tissue, you see you have capillaries, the artery, and then capillaries, and then the veins. And then when they lose some fluid in the tissue, then lymphatic capillaries, these capillaries are blind-ended. There is no opening, okay? You see blind-end capillaries, but there is valve. So fluid from this tissue can only come into the lymphatic capillaries. It cannot go back because this mini flap like mini valve does not allow the lymph to come out once they get inside, okay? So these lymphatic capillaries then carry fluid and take it to the lymphatic duct. So how it is arranged in our body? This diagram is very important. So you see we have two colors. In the right side, the upper quarter of the body, which is upper limb and above the diaphragm, and right half of the body above the diaphragm. So this is around 24% of your upper body part. 25%, sorry, 1/4. Okay. So again, what are the hierarchy of the lymphatic structures? Lymphatic capillaries, collecting vessels, and then lymph nodes, then lymphatic trunk, and then lymphatic duct. So all the trunk are like bilateral. Each side you have trunk. So let's see, start with the lymphatic vessels. You see lymphatic vessels everywhere. Those lymphatic vessels join then lymphatic collecting vessels. And then lymphatic trunk. So trunks are in the jugular region, jugular trunk, subclavian trunk, and then intestinal trunk, and then lumbar trunk. Both sides it will be, okay? And then we have regional lymph nodes. In the cervical region, we have cervical lymph nodes. In the bronchial area, tracheobronchial lymph nodes. In the axilla, axillary lymph node. Around the abdominal aorta, aortic nodes. In the iliac region, iliac nodes. In the inguinal region, inguinal nodes. So these nodes collect the tissue fluid and filter them from that region. Like inguinal region collects all the fluid from lower limbs. Axillary region collects all the fluid from upper limbs and the breast. Cervical region collects from the head region, and so on, okay? So all trunks are bilateral, like jugular trunk, both sides, but there is one trunk that is called intestinal trunk, that is only one. And this intestinal trunk has certain features. So this intestinal trunk carry lymph from lumbar trunk and the intestinal area from the small intestine. And you see the intestinal trunk then join and forms the large, the duct. And that is called cisterna chyli, because this cisterna, dilated part of the lymphatic duct here, carry the lymph with fat, which is called chyle, and they are called cisterna chyli. The cisterna chyli ascends with the thoracic duct, and this thoracic duct then with the joints by other trunk, and then they ultimately open into the jugular vein at the junction of external and internal jugular vein here in the neck vein, okay? So this thoracic duct drains 3/4 of your body. 3/4 of body means upper quarter of the body, and the lower 2/4 of the body. So this is 2/3 of the 3/4 of your body is drained by thoracic duct. You see here, the right lymphatic duct, which start from the other ducts in the neck in the right side and above the diaphragm, that is called right lymphatic duct. So these ducts drain from above the diaphragm in the right side and quarter of the body in the upper quarter of the body, okay? And that also drain into the right jugular vein, okay? So this is the drainage of the lymph node. By the way, your small intestine absorb carb, protein, and fat. Carb and protein is absorbed into the blood capillaries, whereas fat is absorbed into lymphatic capillaries. And those lymphatic capillaries then carry into the cisterna chyli and the thoracic duct, okay? So fat, once absorbed, first it goes to your veins and into your heart, does not go to your liver. But carb and protein first goes to your liver. We'll talk about that later in future, okay? So this is how the lymph is drained from the body and drained into your heart. So let's talk about the lymph nodes. So this is one of the lymph node. Lymph node lies along the collecting vessels. They are bean-shaped, and each lymph node is joined by several lymphatic vessels, like the lymphatic vessel which enter the lymph nodes are called efferent lymphatic vessels. And you see each lymph node has more lymphatic entering lymphatic vessel, that is called efferent lymphatic vessels, compared to exiting lymphatic vessel, which is called efferent lymphatic vessel. So this mechanism, having more afferent vessels compared to efferent vessels, keeps the lymph in the lymph node for longer time so that the white blood cells and macrophage can deal with the dead cells, the cancer cells, and the microorganism here. So you see these lymphatic vessels, afferent are bringing here. The histology of lymphatic vessels, there is capsule, and capsule divides the cortex into several the follicles of the lymph nodes. Okay, lymphoid follicles. Lymphoid follicles are germinal center, and the cortex contains the white blood cells, and the center germinal center contains macrophages, and medullary cord also contains a lot of macrophages here. And these are all white blood cell and macrophages phagocytose the foreign particles or foreign antigens or deal with them. Okay, and then tissue fluid again, lymph exit from this efferent vessels which joins the lymphatic duct. Lymph trunks located collecting vessel along the collecting vessels, and there are 5 major: lumbar trunk, intestinal trunk, brachiomediastinal trunk, subclavian trunk, and jugular trunk. So these trunks we talked about earlier. Okay. The trunks in highlighted forms, you can see right side there is trunk. There are 5 trunks in the right side and the left side, and there is only one trunk which is unpaired, and that is the intestinal trunk here. Okay, this intestinal trunk is unpaired. Otherwise, all the trunk like left and right lumbar trunk, and then right bronchomediastinal trunk, right subclavian trunk, right jugular trunk, and same thing in the left side. Okay, these all trunk join the ducts. The lymphatic duct, we have 2 major lymphatic duct, thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. Cisterna chyli is located at the union of lumbar intestinal trunk, and that joins the thoracic duct. Thoracic duct ascends along the vertebral bodies, empties into the venous circulation at the junction of left internal jugular and left subclavian vein, drains 3/4 of the body, this thoracic duct, whereas right lymphatic duct empties into right internal jugular vein, subclavian vein, and they drain only 25% of the upper part of the body. Okay, lymphoid tissues. So the other part of the lymphatic system is the lymphoid tissues. So what are the lymphoid tissues? They are outside the lymphoid, lymph nodes, and most important lymphoid tissues of the immune system are found in 2 general locations. They are mucous membrane. So they are found in the lining of the body cavity walls, like in the GI tract mucous membrane, under the mucous membrane, under the respiratory tract mucous membrane, under the reproductive tract mucous membrane. So any system which is open to the environment, microorganism can enter. That's why in the wall of those organs, under the mucous membrane, you have this lymphoid tissue. And so they are found in the mucous membrane of digestive, urinary, respiratory, and reproductive tract. And they are called MALT, mucosa-associated lymphoid node, because they are found under the mucosa of the tract. There are some lymphoid organ, which is also the part of lymphoid tissue and lymphoid organs. And the primary lymphoid organ is your bone marrow, because bone marrow contains a lot of, this is the original site for the lymphocytes and other white blood cell. Thymus is an lymphoid organ which is found behind your sternum, and that is the location where T lymphocytes mature after they are formed in the bone marrow. Secondary lymphoid organs are lymph node, spleen, tonsils, and aggregated lymphoid nodules in the body, appendix, which is hanging from your cecum in the large intestine, that is another lymphoid organs. Okay, so these are the lymphoid organisms designated to gather and destroy infectious microorganisms. You see, tonsils are the submucous lymph nodes in your posterior to your mouth, then thymus behind your sternum, then spleen, the largest lymphoid organ here. Spleen has one more function because it destroys old red blood cells, and then aggregated lymphoid nodules are in the small intestine under the mucosa, and lymph node are the appendix hanging from your cecum here in the large intestine. These are the lymphoid organs. Okay. Spleen, largest lymphoid organ, two main blood cleansing function, remove blood-borne antigens. So any microorganism which is passing from lymph node to the spleen, because the spleen is highly vascular, all the blood flow to your spleen too. So they mate with all the microorganism, and the macrophage and other white blood cell fight the infection there. At the same time, it also remove and destruct old defective red blood cell. In the fetus, they are site of hematopoiesis because bone marrow are not mature. Later, the hematopoiesis site is bone marrow. There is white pulp and red pulp. White pulp is thick sleeve of lymphoid tissue, and red pulp surrounds white pulp, which is outside, composed of venous sinuses and venous cord. You can see here, red pulp and white pulp here. Red pulp here, and the white pulp is here in the center. It contains venous sinuses outside. Malt, as I told you earlier, malts are mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues, and they fight invading bacteria. Sometimes they are called aggregated lymphoid nodules or Pierce patches in the small intestine. Okay, so this is the lymphatic system, guys. Let me go over a little bit about the histology of blood vessels. So I'm going to go and find that anatomy of blood vessels. Okay, so structure of blood vessel. This is chapter 20. We are not covering a lot here. I'm going to just go structure of the blood vessels, and I have sent you guys the list of blood vessels. I have the blood vessel list I sent. It is on your assignment, as well as I sent through the email. If you see the blood vessel list, that blood vessel list is important for your exam. You will be asked only those blood vessels. So this is blood vessel list like you got last time, bone list, muscle list. This is the blood vessel list. Okay. So those blood vessels I have categorized based on which region of the body, veins and arteries. So those arteries and veins, you are responsible for the exam. But here, I'm going to talk only histology of blood vessels. So blood vessels are composed of three layers. These are called tunics: tunica intima, tunica media, and tunica externa. Let's see here. This is the cut section of your blood vessels. Here it is artery. If you see cut section of artery, artery is open, but vein is collapsed. But both of them have the same three layers. Oh, I have no diagram. Histology. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so let me go over them. Three layers is tunica intima, tunica media, and tunica externa. Tunica intima is the inner layer of the blood vessel that is composed of simple squamous epithelium. Tunica media is the layer of a smooth muscle, and this is the layer which is controlled by autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system constrict these smooth muscle and reduce the diameter of blood vessel, and the parasympathetic or sympathetic relaxation dilates this blood vessel. Tunica externa is composed of connective tissue, and the cavity inside is called lumen, which is filled with blood. So let's see in the diagram. If you see here outside, let me write down. So this outermost area, the blue one, is called tunica externa, which is made up of connective tissue. This pink thick layer is called, from here all the way this one is called tunica media, and they are made up of muscles. And the very thin dark lining is called tunica intima. Okay, both artery and veins have the same structure. Only thing is, in the veins there's less thickness of the smooth muscle and less elastic fibers. That's why when you cut, veins collapse, and most of the veins in your body are superficial, whereas arteries are deep in the muscles. Okay, so do you remember, artery becomes arterioles, then arteriole becomes capillaries. So what happens? Slowly from artery to arteriole, you lose smooth muscle, and then ultimately when you become capillaries, you lose the all smooth muscle. You will have only very thin layer of connective tissue and single layer of epithelial lining, endothelium, and that's the capillaries wall. That's why this one layer and this one layer, only 2 cell thick in the capillaries, help exchange of gases and nutrition. Okay. Okay. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Capillaries is small blood vessel, the site of exchange of molecules between blood and tissue fluid. Veins carry blood towards the heart. We have done these things before. Okay, but there are large blood vessels. What is the largest blood vessels? The thickest, largest blood vessel in the body? The aorta, the superior vena cava, the inferior vena cava, the pulmonary trunk. Those are the largest blood vessels. Okay, so those blood vessels wall is so thick, their muscles and their tunica externa do not get nutrition from their own blood in their lumen. So in the wall, they have their own small capillaries. So tunica externa of large blood vessels carry tiny arteries, capillaries, and veins. And those blood vessels are called vasa vasorum. So vasa vasorum are vessels of the large vessels. They nourish outer region of the large vessel. Inner half of large vessel receive nutrient from luminal blood, but outer half receive from vasa vasorum. Okay. Pulmonary circulation, we did it last time. We know how to do it. Okay. Systemic circulation, carry oxygenated blood. We did these things last time. Here is the major arteries and veins you can use for your list. Okay. So artery always carry blood to the body. This is the blood vessel in the head and neck region. Here is the blood vessels in the brain. Here is the veins in your body. And here is the hepatic portal circulation. This is important circulation. Okay. So let me talk about the portal system in the body. There are few portal system in the body, and most important is hepatic portal system, which supply your liver. So usually in systemic circulation, what you see like this is the common carotid artery, they become capillaries, and these capillaries then becomes veins, and then veins, if you see veins, these veins then return blood. So here is veins and here will be capillaries. But in some location of the body, that's not the case. So here in the stomach and intestine, what happens? The basic scheme of hepatic portal system. The blood from your heart pumps and then becomes through the artery, it becomes capillaries in your stomach and intestine, and that's why they absorb nutrition. You see, your the carb and protein is absorbed here, whereas fat is absorbed into the lymphatic capillaries. So this is systemic capillaries. Okay, these capillaries then joins and becomes the vein, which is called hepatic portal vein, because they are rich into nutrition. So this first capillary bed then becomes again the vein, and what usually veins do? Joins the heart, but here it is not joining heart directly. Again becomes the second capillary bed inside the liver, and that is called double bed of the capillaries. So it has vein in the center and double bed of capillaries either side, and this double bed of capillaries in the liver is called hepatic portal system. Now these capillaries again becomes vein, which is called hepatic vein, and that joins the inferior vena cava and then drain to your right atrium. This is called hepatic portal system. So hepatic portal system is double capillary bed which carry nutrition-rich venous blood from your intestine to your liver and then to your inferior vena cava and then ultimately to your heart. Okay, so this is all about the lymphatic and the blood vessels of the body. Okay.